Hello, everyone. This is Aaron Mathias from Human Garage. We are going live today talking about EMF and its effects on the human body and how crazy the effects of EMF can be in and all around you. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking to the founder of EMF Rocks, Justin Frandson, who's written this incredible book called Athleticism, which is all about optimizing the human system and the human body, and the creator of EMF Rocks, founder of EMF Rocks, which protect you from the effects of EMF. We're going to be talking and deep diving today. Hold on one second. Okay, just seeing if EMF Rocks is coming into our live. But we're going to be discussing today all of the nuances of that with Justin. He's an expert in this field. He also is an expert on human optimization. Written an incredible book, which I just held up a few seconds ago. But before we dive in, just to welcome you all, if you haven't been here before, we do this every Wednesday, 5:30 Eastern, where we take a deep dive with our partners, with the people that we collaborate with, to understand why they created what they created, why they built what they did. Because it's one thing to promote a product or say, hey, go buy this product, it's really awesome. And to me personally, it's another thing to sit down and talk with the creator and the owner and find out the who, the where, the what, and the why that led them to this creation in the very first place. So that's what we're going to be doing today with Justin Frandson from EMF Rocks. The effects and how to shift them. A little bit of piece of housekeeping before we jump in. If you haven't already done so, you can join our Human Garage community, which is an incredible place to be. You can go over to humangarage.net and join our private app. You can dive deep into the 28-day reset and all of our resets. We also will be in Austin, Texas. We're going to be holding a little pop-up event there and in town. So if you're in Austin, we're going to be there from the 14th to the 20th. And on top of that, we have a new Instagram page that I want you to check out. There's no content there yet, but give it a follow because very shortly there will be a plethora. It's a great word. That's my word of the day, a plethora of content at humangarage.shop. Go follow humangarage.shop. This is going to be a repository for all of our partners, for all of our teams that we collaborate with, to post, share content, to interact with all of you guys, and go deeper into their products, their services. It's going to be a fun place to hang out. So humangarage.shop. And if you want to connect with me personally, my name is Aaron Mathias. You can grab some amazing skincare at pulseoflife.co or interact with me at Aaron Mathias The Purpose and connect with me there. We'll be dive deep into all things human performance as well. And we're just waiting for Justin to pop on here. Let's see. There we go. There we go, my friends. Send you a little request, Justin. Let's do some Instagram magic. Justin should pop up here. There he is. There he is. Bingo.
Aaron.
What's up, my friend?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Really good. Yourself?
See you.
Likewise.
Great. Thank you.
Where are you at today?
I'm in Orange County, Southern California.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm
How
hanging
about
out
you?
I'm in Colombia right now. In Cartagena, Colombia, overlooking the beach.
How's this for a beach?
Oh, oh, nice. That's beautiful.
There you go, everyone. That's Dana Point right there. That's the harbor.
There's mine over there out the window.
Oh, I like it.
So I kind of gave a little bit of a brief intro for you before you hopped on. Hold on one second. Talk a little bit about your amazing book, which I'm diving into, and our wonderful good old EMF Rocks. But I wonder if you could give a little, I mean, I've known you, I've hung out with you, I've broken bread with you. But I wonder if you can give everybody who's tuning in here kind of a lowdown of where the heck you came from. Like, how did you even lead up to creating EMF Rocks?
Yeah, well, it's been a long journey with athletes. I started at athleticism.com almost 30 years ago, working with professional athletes. And I saw them breaking down from wearable technology. And that's what got me into the EMF space. And from there, I've really kept learning and growing the whole way through and do nerve work. And yeah, I still work with athletes and treat concussions and do fascia work, but also just really have the product centric, focus right now, and then soon to be naturopathic doctor. So I've just had this really incredible journey over the last 30 years.
What, what so I mean, it's wild, like all the stuff that you have done. But was there an initial impetus that kind of kicked that off for you, that started you down a healthy pathway? Because I have probably a leg up because been reading your book, so I kind of know some of the background. But what kicked it off for you initially? Because you kind of grew up. Probably it sounds like I did. I was born in like 1977, and through that whole time period, as a young kid growing up, we ate hamburger helper, we had everything processed, fast food, whatever. And then
Yeah.
eventually, in my teens, I got into health and wellness and started exploring all that in a whole different way of living. But for most of my life, or a good chunk of it, I was eating the typical pasta American diet.
Yeah, it's typical of that generation. I know for sure. The health space didn't really catch on back then, and so I went to a homeopathic doctor that kicked me out of a mono that turned into a more chronic situation, and that's what got me into the space early on. Plus, I was an athlete that got hurt, that didn't get to perform at the level that I wanted, and so he, the combination between having a clogged system from eating too much foods that didn't agree with me, unclogging it just instantly through homeopathy, and then changing my intake, getting rid of the things I was allergic to, helped my system heal. But even before that, I was a tennis player and went to SC. I wanted to walk on the team and play, but my wrist gave out. I think I lifted too heavy, and there's so many metacarpals in your wrist that I kept playing 4 hours a day, 4 hours a day, and I just was ignoring the pain and discomfort because I was a tough guy. And sure enough, I just couldn't play anymore because it just tore up everything, both hands. So I pivoted and jumped into basketball and then started playing that, and now it's more volleyball, beach volleyball, and so it's been 20 years, 20 years, 20 years of all the different sports, well, almost 20, but volleyball is more of a newer sport. So it's been fun, but for helping people, I didn't play at the level that I felt I was capable of at that young age. That when most people, really have that in them to play at that
Yeah.
level. And so I just wanted to help a lot of people. So I started athleticism.com at a Scripps clinic in La Jolla, and just had an incredible mentor. As we both do now, continually with Gary, and learning so much of this fascia from him. But and then I just keep growing and adding more and more to the programs. Now I'm using a lot of light. I use a lot of human garage and then a lot of my naturopathy from what I do. And then for the sports performance side, athleticism is still one of the best sports performance programs anywhere in the country. So literally, I'm the sensei in that realm. So we still help a lot of people through that.
So what do you do different in your way of approaching performance, say than a typical physio? Because a lot of teams have sports physios. I love everything you're talking about, from connecting all the mind, body, and spirit, and also the way of working in figure eights and all these different configurations. But what, if you can elaborate on that, but what also separates the way that you work? I'm curious about that. Because you've been
Yeah.
around this stuff
So,
for so long. So,
well, when you start to understand the body as a pressured system, and that we're a holograph of light, and we're electromagnetic beings, and we're energy, uh, I approach it at a whole different level. And so nothing's linear in our approaches, and that's, I think, what the first differentiator out of all other sports performance programs is. They're really linearly based, like they're doing straight line runs and jumps and warm-ups, and I'm not. We don't do straight line stuff unless we're doing top end, 40s or 60 tests. But other than that, nothing is done in a straight line. We're teaching whole body, whole brain stuff. We teach people how to juggle, how to develop ambidexterity. Our components, our focus is mostly on building a foundation of balance and pliability and stability and whole body, whole brain, energy system, nervous system connections with the proper fascial, adhesion connections, and then so we get them pliable and stable and rehydrate or remineralize. So it's kind of covering all those bases. But just for the sports side, we do things in semicircles and figure eights and connect to the infinite flow of the universe, and that's the way we're designed to train and play. Everyone misses.
Justin, you froze there for a second. Could you repeat the
Oh,
last part of what you said? Like you kind of froze up.
yeah, sorry. I said we train in figure eights, and that a figure eight is the infinite flow of the universe. And when we can connect them rhythmically, energetically to the infinite flow of the universe, that's how they're designed to
Mhm.
operate. But everyone's taught in a linear form, so they don't get into that infinite flow. I mean, look at the batting averages for MLB. It's like under 200. Like if you're under 20 percentile of any other business, like that's not a success. But in that sport, it is for some reason. Like we gotta. So I feel we can get people into higher levels of performance through connecting them with certain rhythms of the universe.
Is there? Can you, when you get an athlete who's been trained more linearly, is it the right way? Linearly, in a more linear fashion. How does how long does it typically take to kind of unwind some of the maybe behaviors that they have and kind of shift them over? Is it like almost instant that you can see a shift, or is it?
It's instant, Aaron. You can see their brain ticking. It's like teaching someone how to juggle. You can literally tell them what to do, and then they'll start. So you toss. Well, I'll teach everyone right now. You toss. Pretend like there's an imaginary box. You toss one hand up, and the ball hits the imaginary box and just lands in the other hand. So you're playing catch from your right hand to your left hand, and you just go back and forth just with one ball. But you got to throw it up to get to the other hand, and so then you add one ball in each hand, and then when the first ball hits the top, then you release the second one under it to the other side. So you're going up and then under, and you catch, and so you can literally see them start to pass it back and forth because they're not trained to go up. We're rewiring their brain and their coordination. So you could see it, and then they hear what you're saying, but it doesn't connect with them. And then maybe it'll connect 1 out of 10 times when they first start, and then they're like, "I got it," but then they don't got it,
Yeah.
and so it starts to really see. And then with the movement patterns, we do them in semicircles, and then we connect them to a figure eight. So if someone's linearly trained, you'll see them instead on the semicircle. If they're going backwards, they'll just fade off into left field. They won't stay on that pattern. They'll go into a linear pattern off into another direction. So you can see them, and then they look back at the course. You're like, "Hey, you're off course," and they'll look back and go, "Wait, what? How did I get
Yeah.
way over here? Like I'm 10 yards away from where I should be." So you can see this stuff. You can see the neural pathways really connecting
Okay.
when we're doing.
Well, why do you think? or in your experience, why do you feel that training has happened, or people got stuck in that kind of way of looking at performance or training? Because I mean, I don't know if I personally believe that these ideas with fascia, with all that has been around for thousands of years, and we're just kind of reconnecting to them. I think these technologies have been around, but why do you feel that it shifted away, or became more of like a box essentially with training?
It goes to the extent that people don't really think out of the box. They believe what they hear, and that's why our whole community is so strong and so aware and so connected, is we're thinking out of the box. I mean, Gary's not giving absolutes on, he's just saying, these are some of my concepts. I feel that we're a pressured system. We are three different parts, and this is kind of how it is. And you know, the bones aren't structure, but you, as we were coming up, the information was different
Mhm.
in a lot of ways, and especially conventionally trained. So I think people got pigeonholed into thinking a certain way and weren't thinking out of the box, and then they didn't have the spine or the fortitude to stand up and say, "Hey, this isn't really working," or they didn't have the creativity or awareness to jump out of that comfort zone, other than what they were taught. And so I think we're kind of rebels in a way, where we're, against the norm and the authority, and so you're taught a certain way. I'm always questioning, like, wait, that doesn't make sense, so explain it. But then they can't. And so Tom Cowan has that same methodology, like brilliant doctors that understand how the body works now, and so it's, for me, there's been amazing people along the way that think like that, but they're not the norm. They're just the norm. So I think a lot of people got stuck in a rut.
And do you think that like that comes from a push to stay a certain way because you're making like income from it, or do you just feel like it's like, hey, I'm kind of comfortable in my position, even though I'm not really getting good results with my clients, they keep coming back to me. What do you feel
Yeah.
leads to that?
Well, if you have someone that's has an authority or that's older, you're going to respect what they say, and you just, there's this plane, and then there's this plane, and then there's this plane, and then that's the way it is. And you train in this plane, and then you train in that plane. But what about this whole rotational component and
Yeah.
dynamic, strength and all this stuff? And people just miss out on a lot of the functional patterns. So it was really wild when I was starting. I noticed the totem pole, and it was like there was just fitness, and then there was functional fitness. As people started to get more functional, like, hey, let's stand on a little foam pad,
Yeah.
and then you had sports performance, and then you had really high level performance. Like it was there was different levels of functional training for athletes, and uh, so the guys like me, there were very few of us at the top of the game in that space, and I still think there still are very few
Mhm.
in that space. There's guys like Paul Chek that have put in a lot more into some really fun stuff, and he brought in the Bosu ball, or he brought in the gym balls to the space and created some dynamic ness to it. But then there's guys like Egoscu that would do the some stretching and stuff, but they would hire us to do the strength stuff. And so there's been some great minds, but no one had really put it together except for us, I feel.
Mhm. Kind of integrating it. It seems like so
Right,
many modalities have pieces
right.
of something, or a part of it. Like you look at like say functional patterns, which is a bit different, or even like WEC method, which does a lot of rotational style movement, but
Yeah.
it's still kind of focused one place. It seems like there's other avenues that still need to be opened up to.
Yeah, and I think I mean David Weck's a good friend of
Yeah.
mine, and we grew up in the space together. We trained out of the same gym. Same with Steve Cotter, who's
Great
the
guy.
kettlebell
Yeah, great
expert.
kettlebell guy.
Yeah, so the three of us kind of came up the ranks together in the same gym, and we each went our own way. And I took over from our mentor, and David, had the BOSU and became an incredible inventor. And Steve Cotter is more he was a martial artist and into the kettlebell, so that became his genre. And I just feel with that, it was, people just have where their gifts lie. And David's gift was being really creative and inventing products, and uh, and Steve's was strength, and then mine was I was really coordinated. Like David's not the most coordinated guy as much as he loves doing stuff. He's just not. So uh, I fell into like what drove me for coordination because I'm super coordinated and like athletic and stuff. So the run, jump, skipping, bounding, shuffling stuff, and whole body, whole brain, and getting rid of injuries and improving performance,
Yeah.
and not just strength training, not just being a bean counter and strength training. I that's part of it, but that wasn't my focus. My focus was more on the other stuff, and now it's more into the healing modalities like human garages, type of mentality where we're looking at the body in a whole different way, and we can self-heal. Because I'm in my 50s, I want to keep competing and recreationally at this level, at a high level, and I play a high level beach volleyball, and I still do open water ocean swims. I free dive. I surf big waves when they come into town. I mean, I'm doing stuff I did for the last 30 years. It hasn't really slowed down. And I want to keep it going as long as I can. So that's where my energy goes.
That's awesome. I mean, we're here living, so we might as well maximize the opportunity to play and have fun. What I also like is every time I've encountered you and connected, you have this like young, uh, like old soul, but like young energy to you, and I feel like that's probably attributed also just to the way that you continue to move and engage in activities. Like there's a playfulness of like and curiosity.
Uh, Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I feel my persona is really such that I'm really grounded and mellow per se, but there's that fire within me
Yeah.
that's like an inferno, and that I just have this, just satiation for knowledge and learning and expanding and growing and connecting to abundance, and then helping others do the same. So I'm that's really what really drives me. Plus, I have a daughter who's a competitive
Okay.
athlete, and so to help her uh, be the best she wants to be is super rewarding as well.
And so, like with working with her, do you have her on like a? Do you make? Is she open to you making like a plan of action for her, or is she like, nah, Dad, I'm gonna go do. I have my coach.
No,
What do you do?
it started early. My training with her started like literally out of the womb, just teaching her to be ambidextrous. So crib, she would reach with one hand, and really right side dominant, and I wouldn't give it to her unless she reached with her other hand.
Wow.
So I taught her it was okay to use both hands, and so just from that, it's been an ongoing series. I kind of cover a little bit in the book
Yeah.
on how I developed her early age. And then she learned the running, jumping, skipping portion really good. So I got her the faster twitch, fibers going. And now she's more into Pilates workouts, and she'll do some beach workouts as well. And she's a really good beach volleyball player too. So she can move. She's super coordinated. One of the big things she still does is juggle. She knows how to juggle. So we're getting the juggling component, which is really cool. So that's a whole body, whole brain. She's a competitive show jumper, equestrian jumper. So
Okay. Wow.
when we get into that, she's got to walk a course and then see what it does, see the steps and count it. And she's got to process so much stuff, and then coordinate a horse to be precise on it. And the jumps are meter 40, meter 45, which is like a Grand Prix height. And so it's like literally levels that professionals jump at. And she's only 17, and she's one of the top in North America. So I have to, I get her into doing all that. But as far as training wise, I let her do a lot of her own stuff, although I've already instilled those neural pathways for her. And then I do more treatment. So I'm doing the fascia work with her at night, or nerve work with her at night. So I'm finding she's asking more for treatments than training.
Got it. I wonder if anybody has followed, and I imagine it's a bit of like, kind of like a lot of the things that we see, because we're just starting to get into actually having people do studies, particularly on the effects. We're actually talking to a company that might do a study. Actually, I shouldn't talk too much about it because it's in the works. But we want to actually test out, when you apply the maneuvers to a specific, say, illness, what are the effects along with maybe the treatments that are being done conventionally? How does that play into it? But have people followed, like, I love this idea of training to be ambidextrous and like instilling these kind of abilities. Has anyone tracked that kind of stuff of like how it shifts, or the effects that it has in the development of even a child? Has anyone tracked those kind of things at all, or?
Yeah, I don't know of many studies that have done it. I've just done it for almost 30 years with professionals, athletes in most major sports. So they'll go from one level to another level. They'll go from 19 to top 5. Like we see significant jumps in performance, and even kids that have coordination challenges, if they want to swim the length of the pool underwater, they've never done it. After one training, one treatment, one session, they'll swim the length of the pool underwater. It just super little subtle things. So I don't know if there's any report on it per se. It would be tough to measure it for that long of a period, but I can assure you, for all the years that I've been working with athletes, we get like results like no one's ever seen before.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it makes complete sense of like training and developing both sides. I'm pretty ambidextrous. I didn't get trained in it, but I'm pretty ambidextrous myself, because I'm left-handed.
Oh, cool.
But I was taught to play the drums right-handed, and for some
Wow.
reason, I play baseball. I swing right-handed. I golf right-handed, but then I write left-handed. And if I box and kickbox, I'll go southpaw, right? I'll be in this. But then also I started training the opposite way, and it's kind of crazy. At first, you go through a little bit of like awkwardness, but then all of a sudden, like, my whole body lights up actually doing stuff the opposite way.
Yeah, you're one of those whole brain performers, which is great, and that's what we strive to teach the kids how to get and where to get to. So you're gonna not telegraph. You're gonna be not as linear. You're gonna be easierly trained to get into the flow states. And I look at the flow states. We can measure them. They're measurable. People don't think you can measure them, but we look at the brainwave state. It's an alpha brainwave state. So it's about 8 to 12 hertz, and that's the speed of your brainwave state when you're in that flow, in that zone. And when we're sleeping, we're 1 to 8, about 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. Performers, athletes are 8 to 13. And so what we're doing is we're getting people during the fascia work into the theta, and getting them out of the parasympathetic, and then to get them into the alpha, which is the flow state. And so a lot of it, we're already doing it with Human Garage, but the guys who are more ambidextrous, it's easier to get them into those brainwave states for performance.
And do you feel the reason is just because of the connection of the neural connection already, because they've been bouncing back and forth?
Yeah, they've just have more hemispheres, so we can brain type someone and see what energies turn on for certain brain types more so than others. And I think when you're when you become ambidextrous, you open up more energy, into different areas, and so it just works better for them.
That's interesting. I wonder if because my father's pretty ambidextrous as well. So I wonder if I picked I don't know, just picked that
You
up
did,
from him.
yeah, for sure. And then just to cover the brainwave state, the reason partly this EMF stuff is when we're sleeping and when we're performing, we know we're at that level. It's 1 to 13 hertz or waves per second, and the Schumann resonance of the Earth is 7.83 hertz. Well, 4G is 2.45 gigahertz. That's 2.45 billion waves per second. So that's 10 zeros faster than how we sleep, rev, and optimize. And 5G is 60 to 90 gigahertz, so 60 to 90 billion waves per second. And telecom's allowed to go up to 300 billion waves per second. So the EMF stressors in our environment have only just begun, according to telecom.
Yeah, which
so that yeah so,
no, go ahead.
yeah, so that's why our grounding bags are going to be are a necessity right now for everyone, is because we've never been radiated at these levels. And if most of our community is looking to looking to heal for Human Garage. We're looking to heal, and that's what this whole community is really based on. For athleticism, we're looking to perform, and now Human Garage, I think we're turning it into, now let's heal, now let's perform.
Yeah.
But it's really tough to heal and perform when you're under duress.
Yeah.
So we gotta clear the stressors, and then it starts to make everything a lot easier for you.
Yeah, I love the transition into talking about the grounding bags. So I feel like this is something that I hope you can dive into, because I was like looking at myself of like, hey, do I want to get grounding mat? Do I want to put that on my bed? Or what do I want to add to block or disperse some of these signals? And
Right.
you had a really fascinating point of view on this. And honestly, I didn't get a grounding bag because of it. So, I mean, not a grounding bag, a grounding mat. I
Yeah.
didn't get a mat because of this.
Yeah, so a lot of people are looking at this space and they're trying to figure out, how do we modify something? How do we change these fields and manufacture something to change them? And Clint Ober went through the outlet. So he's like, how do I go through an electrical outlet to do that? Well, electricity runs on the outside of the wire. So even if you're plugged into the ground of an outlet that might go to the ground, if your house is properly wired, you're still going through electricity to get there. It doesn't make sense to me, because you can measure electricity several feet away from an outlet. It just doesn't make sense at all to go through outlets or technology to clear technology. You don't want to do that. No one has, when we're dealing with EMF stuff, we don't use technology to clear the technology. When we're dealing with healing modalities and Rife machines and frequency healing and or electrical stems or what have you, or light therapy, you use technology, but you use it for short durations. When we're dealing with EMF protection, we have to look for the nature's resonance. So we got to get grounded in nature. We got to touch a tree, hug a tree, get barefoot, get into bodies of water. And then with our grounding bags, we have to bring the resonance, her resonance, into your home and into your bedroom. And the goal is to connect and create an atmosphere and a frequency of waveforms that are low and slow and as close to nature's are in your environment indoors. And so that's what we've done with the EMF Rocks, the grounding bags, is we hand mine the crystals. So they're the most natural approach for healing versus something you plug in, a frequency, Aaron, that you would modify, that you would embed into a chip or a pendant or a sticker. Like, to me, that's like eating GMO food. Anything you would modify is a way to eat GMO food. And for people that love the grounding mats, like, there's a small percentage that I hear that love their grounding mat. What was it? Dr. Brian Ardis's crew, he tested like so many of them. He
Like
found
200 some, I think he tested.
Yeah,
Like,
and he only came up with two that worked, and one was one brand and one was another
Yeah.
brand, and that was those were the only ones that tested and worked, and I don't even know how great they are, at the end of the day, because they're still plugged in the outlet, and then they don't clear wireless signals, and you can't detoxify your biofield, but through our tapping protocol. So uh, even if they're working, I feel there's a whole nother level that they're missing out on. So that's kind of my take on all the manufactured products for EMF protection.
Yeah. So essentially what they're trying to do with that is create a completely new signal where you're
Right.
what the bags are doing, what the EMF rock bags are doing is essentially harmonizing the
Yeah.
current
Coherence.
frequencies.
Coherence.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
creating coherence.
Coherence. I like that word better, but because literally our bodies are a capacitor, so we emit and we receive signals. So and so does the Earth's resonance. And when you could bring that in, it's going to emit something and create a piezoelectric effect and counter anything coming at it. It might absorb some as well, but that's that ebb and flow with it in its environment. So there ends up being a synergy and synchronicity and a coherence with you and your biofield connected into the air, which is our environment.
I love it.
And
Well, what do you think? Go
well,
ahead.
real quick on that too. Gary's really talks about the fascia extending out into our biofield, and I feel that that's a really significant point, because our fascia has such intelligence that if I move this hand around and I can't see it, it's behind me. I'm moving my arm around.
Yeah.
I'm looking this way, but I know where it is. How do I know that? I feel our fascia extends. We have proprioceptors, but our fascia extends out into our biofield, which goes out about 6 to 8 feet, and we can really extend out and have our energy field push out into further, and then even into the ether even further, with thoughts and hacking time per se, past, present, future stuff. So it's really, we don't even really know, or haven't really even experienced the level of performance that we can get out of this body.
Just because of what we're typically around on a daily
Right.
basis.
Just because we don't think of it as an extension, we
Yeah.
don't think of us as being one with nature
Yeah.
and our universe. We think of everything as like, okay, I'm this body, and that's that air, and that's that water.
Yeah.
Well, when we can connect to it through our fascia, we can start to improve our performance and our health in big ways.
And with the actually one thought before that. So I had a conversation a few weeks ago with Viva Ray's blue light blocker glasses. But the cool thing is also they create a lens that actually harmonizes frequencies instead of completely blocking. It creates
Yeah.
harmony in the way the light frequency hits, because still some of that is needed. If you block stuff completely, it actually is not good. But
Yeah.
you said something really interesting, and I think this goes right along with this. What you were just saying too is like we almost in a way we're so conditioned and living in our environment, and until we kind of like can feel the space of more energy and more frequency, or a higher vibration, because he gave a whole idea of like he didn't realize how kind of stuck he was until he went and stayed for like 20, 30 days out in the woods and disconnected completely for a while,
Yeah.
and then kind of came back. And we all do this in a little bit when we go on vacation. We go to the beach for a while. We're like, wow, that felt good, and then we come back. But we're still even entrenched nowadays, even at the beach, with our electronic devices and surrounded by stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like I wonder, do we know, or how close do we actually get to what is possible?
Yeah, well said. It's, while I don't feel people understand how much invisible environmental stressors they're being inundated with on a daily basis, that we just don't. And especially with electromagnetic fields, and we measure everything in a waveform. you don't understand that your house is buzzing and making all this noise until you're at home and you're sitting down, and then all of a sudden the electricity goes off and you can hear the buzz go from down to nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you know what quiet is.
Yeah.
And so we're that constant buzz is we're always in it. And as Arthur Furstenberg says in The Invisible Rainbow, it's way easier to live, in our world as humans, even though we didn't have as much progress and health, cleanliness, all that stuff. But before 1889, before we put electricity in the homes, and then radio waves in 1918 and World War II radar and satellites, and then now 5G. So we just keep turning up these levels of stressors, and there is no normalized pool that we can gauge what's normal and what's not stressed out, because unfortunately our government and these companies, they want to radiate the whole world. They're launching millions of satellites. They want to put radar all over the entire blanket, the entire world. That's going to destroy our health. And if there's any change in the climate faster than normal, it's not from global warming, it's from radiation emissions, because it destructures your water, it dehydrates things, including us, obviously, in our fascia. That's why we take Human Garage's supplements, but it also is doing it to our environment.
Yeah. Which is wild to think about. Like, even I look at my window here. When I first got down to first came to Columbia, you didn't really see much like spraying of like trails and stuff like that. And now every day there's like crisscross of patterns. It goes to haze. So it's like on top of the radiation, now you've got artificial cover blocking out the one radiation source that we actually need, the sun,
Right.
to receive and harmonize with. So with the bags themselves, like, is there a certain number that is like a sweet spot of having them, or can one work for somebody? Like, how does it, and how do you measure? Is there a way to measure the bags, like when you put them with a device?
Well, definitely. We start with muscle testing is what we typically do, and we've established a bunch of protocols, usage protocols, proximity protocols with technology, and then protocols with our bags to clear certain levels of stressors of the technology. So we start at least one on each bed, and on the bed, at the head of the bed is best, and then we do at least 5 grounding bags in your home, centrally located, to clear 2,000 square feet. If someone has solar on their home, they require 7, because the static in the line that the battery's holding to give you the level of electricity you're requesting causes lots of static. And so that's dirty electricity. So you just need more of nature to clear that. Now, electric vehicles, they also require that amount as well. They require 7 grounding bags to clear an electric car, because you're sitting on a massive battery, and that again equates to dirty electricity. So anyhow, those are some of the usage protocols, proximity protocols, and how the grounding bags can help you in your environment.
And so you can also use, I mean, like, you can just carry one in your pocket if you wanted, theoretically.
Yeah, the mini, so we also have a mini grounding bag. This one's been used for a while.
Yeah.
And
I got a little baby one.
Yeah, that's it. So I put this in my pocket. It's about 2 to 3 ounces. And then I put my phone on the outside of it, so there's a layer of protection, or a buffer, between the bag and the phone and my body. And the women will put the mini grounding bag in their purse, their kids will put it in their backpack. So that's more for on-the-go protection. So we've established products for all the usage that we're going to be. Or if you're in your office, you want one on your desk, or on your chair, or touching your chair, touching the leg of your desk. Same with your bed. Make sure it's touching your bed. And at least one will clear a whole bed. but then if it's an electric car, you're just going to need a lot
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. A friend of mine just sold his electric car.
Good. Say goodbye to him.
Yeah. He was like, I'm done. He's like, because every time he was in it with his wife, like they were like, we started feeling like really crappy and bad, and like,
Yeah.
because they're super into health and wellness and like living clean and moving, and they were like starting to notice a huge effect. So they got rid of one and got a Jeep instead.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. You got to go back to the older combustion engines. And the big thing too, I wanted to mention on this is, and I've talked about it a lot on my
Yeah.
lives, Aaron, is the facial recognition is a
Oh.
big challenge too. And what they're doing is they're using infrared cameras and lasers, and then they splash in radar. So the lasers have about, so if I shined a red laser dot pointer at your eye, they recommend not to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So now we have 30,000 of those, but they're infrared, which you just means it's the same bandwidth. It's just not colored. That goes right at your face the entire time you're using your phone, and it tracks every facial expression and micro movement, eye movement at 0.05 seconds all the time. You're using your phone and the screen's pointed at you. So it's a really challenging proposition to have that much millimeter waves as a directed weapon pointed at your face to read
Yeah.
your facial expression. So you guys get rid of that. Go into your settings. It'll say Face ID and passcodes, and click into there. And then where it has the facial recognition buttons, turn those off. There's several of them, and you'll notice your eyes won't be as drained and fatigued.
Ah. You know what? The funny thing is, I didn't even think about the fact that that thing is always actually like cranking away.
Always on. And they have multiple cameras. There's like 4 different cameras, and they block it out. It's at the top of the phone, and it's tinted. So if you can kind of move it around, you can kind of see one's a regular camera. Then they have these infrared cameras, and then they have the laser dots.
Mm.
Yeah, and then some of them they have radar, and they're like, oh yeah, we're testing radar, but they don't put it in the schematics, but they're still putting it in there.
Yeah, yeah,
So these guys are sneaky.
yeah. Well, I
They're
mean, like the iPhone right now you can call with a satellite, for crying out loud.
yeah,
When you get stranded, you can now like go to a satellite, which is insane. But
yeah,
what
because
kind
it
of
has GPS,
yeah
it has Bluetooth, cellular, and then it has just one other system that's always on. So a broadband spectrum. So they have like multiple different, like at least a handful of different bandwidths that it's always on. So they could find your phone, they could connect other devices, and all that stuff. So it's pretty unbelievable how much they're getting away with,
yeah
and they keep turning it up. Because when I made our Faraday bags, the cell phone wouldn't ring inside of them. It's a 7 millimeter static bag. Now they ring inside of 2 of them, and
wow,
I mean they just keep turning the stuff up.
that's crazy. So even in the Faraday bag, it's still gonna ding ding ding.
It'll still ring, and I seal it
Wow.
7 millimeter, which is pretty incredible. So yeah, we're in a time and an era where technology, it's so beneficial, and it's so part ingrained in our lives to be productive and be efficient. And we're not going to get out of that. It's never going to go away at this point. So how do we use it and not let it use us? And how do we develop usage protocols and proximity protocols? And then how do we bring in products like our EMF Rocks, the grounding bags, you know, additionally into our home to create that
Yeah.
coherence, within that environment as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. I mean, at this point, it has to become, unfortunately, it has to become an essential thing you're doing if you want to have the greatest potential to maximize your journey, your health. Like you have
Yeah,
to
it does.
ground, get out. Like it's like I think about it sometimes. I'm like, oh man, it's kind of crazy. Like I'm just looking outside right now, which is it's actually nice down here in Columbia that there's a park here and people love to actually utilize it. Like there's so many families outside right now playing around, which is so cool. But it's like we have to. Sounds like we have to go back and build in. Okay, what do I need to do? I need to wake up. I need to see the sun. I need to protect it if it's blocked from frequencies. I need to move my body. And these are just like they have to be there. Otherwise, with just existing in your environment nowadays, you're being bombarded with toxins no matter how clean you eat.
Right. Yeah, there's a level of awareness and consciousness that we all are going to strive to get to so we can stay healthy and optimize our performance. There's too much in the water of whether it's in, putting the frequencies of, as Brian Artis would say, of snake venom and stuff in the
Yeah.
water, there, or fluoride is just one of many, all the pharmaceuticals, all that. But there's so much in the air from the chemtrails, and then the invisible stressors of the radiation, all the glyphosate in the food as well. And so we're getting riddled with chemicals literally in every industry, and including dental industry with amalgams or mercury and the fillings. And so, and then you go on the medical side with the shots and the vaccines and all the toxicity and everything they're putting into those. I mean, it's they're using the same graphene oxide in the shots as they are putting in the air. They're starting to use technology in the air and into vaccines, and then they're starting to do it into food as well. So we have to start farming and growing our own food and having more of a thought process for sustainability, biodynamic, regenerative farming, and clean water, air in our environment. Because if we don't, our health and longevity is going to be very short-lived.
Yeah, it's going to go out the window.
Yeah.
Would you do you still do qigong?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I used to do qigong way more, and then I got into Tai Chi, and now what I find myself doing is just human garage breath work. And so I'll go in, and every morning I'll be barefoot on the beach doing the fascial maneuvers.
Okay.
And that's really allowed me to ground it, and the feeling that I would get from doing the others, I get it way quicker with human garage's fascial maneuver. So I just do those. So I go through all the sequences and do that, and then I physically feel more open and loose. I take myself into the proper parasympathetic state, and I can feel like I can move energy even better, and I feel way more powerful than I did with those other modalities, which is wild.
Yeah, that's really fascinating because I've been playing around with like doing like both, like doing some maneuvers and then moving into some qigong and posing and stuff like that. And it's just interesting to feel the fluctuations or just the energy shifts that happen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool exploration.
Yeah,
It's,
I feel our human garage fascial maneuvers get you more powerful, and that's one of the biggest things I could say is if you're just doing breath work and breathing and building that energy, that's great. But if you don't have the foundation with fascial maneuvers to support that, you're setting yourself up for not being as powerful as you can. And the reason I'll double down on saying this is I've tested it, and I'll swim, and I swim. I'll do lap swimming in pools just to keep me out of trouble when I'm in the ocean, because I'm in some extreme situations sometimes, and so. But I'm not a trained swim racer. But so I get in the pool, and these guys will typically beat me. But then after doing the fascial maneuvers, I'm beating them by like half a body length. which is significant. Every tenth of a second is a lot in the water, and I'm beating them by a lot more than that. So, I attribute it especially, just exclusively, I should say, to the fascial maneuvers. I never got that ever with Tai Chi or Qigong, and I spent a lot of time doing that as well.
That's pretty incredible, because that's a huge difference. Tenths of seconds in that kind of sport, or even doing it, is a lot. Athletes fight like crazy to get that little.
Yeah. Now, if you want to do like push hands, like Tai Chi, and feel someone's energy, you got to do that technique to feel it. But to get overall more powerful, I feel you got to be doing human garage maneuvers.
What's like going on next for you? Like, what's happening in your world besides bringing EMF rocks to more and more people and making sure people understand like what and who, where, what, and why they need it? But like, what else is going on for you in your world?
Yeah, right now it's the grounding bags are the big one, and the big topic that I want to educate the masses on because of this big stressor. Number two, and that ties in with it, is our bodies are in the state of a diabetic state. We're pre-diabetic. What happens when we're inundated with electromagnetic radiation is our cortisol spikes, and we start to go into a glucose spike. So I have a product called lean oil that is an MCT oil that buffers the glucose spiking. So I feel partly that when we talk about hydration in naturopathic world, which is, I'm a naturopath, is hydration is not just minerals and water, it's also oil. So I want to get that oil in the system to buffer those glucose spiking. So MCT oil, our lean oil, and it's on leanoil.com or athleticism.com. And I'm not sure if you guys sell it yet, but on Human Garage's channel. But
not lean oil, but we've got your bags and everything.
Yes.
Bags,
So that is my next biggest messaging for everybody, is to get the right oils in your system, and like black cumin seed oil and MCT oil and avocado and olive oil, and then the raw butters. Those are essentials for me to educate people on having your insulin not spike. Because we'll take a diabetic, Aaron, we'll put them in an airplane, their glucose will jump up 200 points. They'll get a bloody nose when everyone turns on the Wi-Fi.
Wow.
So we gotta buffer that with the grounding bags, and then internally with proper nutrition. So because what happens is your chemistry is affected by the energy around it. The energy creates the chemistry. So if we're being inundated in our biofield, that's going to change our chemistry. So we have to make sure our chemistry is solidified as well.
100%. That just reminded me of something you had said earlier about like the idea of our biofield about 6 feet out from us, right?
6 to 8, yeah.
6 to 8. I wonder if that's why they came up with this arbitrary made up thing of like stay 6 feet apart so our biofields couldn't connect in the way they wanted to, and people could harmonize.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's ironic, but they didn't say out of a straight line out of my right ear.
Yeah.
And that's our point exactly, as far as we're one with nature, being our resonances are unpolarized. They distribute equally in every direction. So if our energy can go out and we can, affect somebody in a positive ways, 8 feet out, it's not in a straight line, but all technology is one directional, or it doesn't work. So that's why they have cell tower panels facing every direction. So interesting point, but I think they did get it from that.
Yeah. And that makes sense with the cell phone towers that's 360 around, that they have to have, because the panel only emits one way, so you've got to have little leaflets all around.
Yeah.
It's kind of comfortable. Yesterday I looked at an apartment in the building that I'm in, because I temporarily rented this one, and I love the building, so I want to stay in it. And I looked at a place that was on the opposite side, and I'm going through, and I'm like, oh, the layout's kind of cool. And I get to the back of the apartment, and there's big shades, big windows looking out. I lift up the shade, and I was like, nope, I'm done. The cell phone tower right on a building, maybe about like 25 yards from where that window of that space was. I was like, all right, I'm good.
Wow.
See you later. I was like, man,
Wow.
I can't imagine someone, the lady who's been living there. I'm like, how do you deal with that every day?
Well, she'll be sick in 10 years. Within 10 years, she'll have major health challenges. Yeah, and within it, I would say with that close of proximity, it'll be way faster. So we've that it's a great point you bring up, Aaron, because you have to look at your environment when you're looking at homes and residences, and that's what got me. I started in the spaces learning. I would go into homes. I was one of the only practitioners that would actually bring meters. I'd come in and meter, and when these things start screaming, there's something wrong, because
Yeah.
then you point them the other direction, then they don't. So it's pretty simple to see where the stressors are and identify the invisible stressors with meters. So, but we can also do it with our eyes. It's like, where's the Wi-Fi? Where are the smart meters? Where are the cell towers pointed? And how close to me is that smart meter? Of the neighbor, pointing towards the wall of me as well, or on this existing unit, or if it's a multi-unit, where's the cluster of meters? And I want to be completely away from it. So we got to start looking at residences. And I've been saying there should be a whole new wave of realtors out there. And I don't think they've really come yet, but
Yeah.
the people that are listening to what we're saying,
Yeah.
you're just doing it intuitively on your own, which is awesome.
Well, maybe that's a good. Maybe I should start that business as being like, hey, I'll be your new EMF realtor guy.
You should.
Because I mean, I drive my girlfriend nuts, like looking at stuff, because I walk into a space and I'm like, oh, oh, no, I don't want that. I don't want, my eyes are already
Yeah.
tuned to that stuff, and it's like I don't want to deal with it, because then it's like I have to bring in so many other things to counteract it, and if I don't
Right.
have to, I don't want to.
No, exactly. That's the whole game, is to lower the amount of stressors on your body. So have that awareness. And someone asked about, solar, uh, uh, solar panels on the house. Yeah, uh, the solar panels and the batteries, they're both going to be storing that electricity and having a vibration effect. So you don't want it's going to be negatively affecting you. So you got to have about 7 grounding bags to clear that.
Yeah. Or maybe see if they can move your panels off your house onto the ground somewhere.
Right. Yeah, you got to get them away from you. You want to connect above the God, and but you got to clear that vibration out with the bags. But the further the panels are away, the better for you. And then the battery, the further the battery, for sure, away from you. But the big challenge is with Teslas, uh, when you plug in the Tesla to charge it at your home at night, uh, it blows out the electricity of your home. So if you had a healthily wired home, the second you plug your car in to charge it, you make your home an unhealthy home full of dirty electricity. So not only are you getting zapped when you're driving the thing, you're just zapping your whole house at night when you're charging it. So it's literally nonstop on that type of a car.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could probably like my mind is always wired to move towards. I wonder why that pushes, or I wonder why something's happening, and that makes me think of like even, I mean, not only for the control factor that electronic cars give, because you can just stop them or turn them off, no problem, but also the fact that if everybody has that added stressor now in their home, you have another way of like not only affecting someone's ability to get around if you wanted to stop them because you just cut power, but also then when there is power, you're affecting their energy frequencies all night long
Right.
by having a car. Because right, the push to get, hey, everyone needs an electric car, everyone needs to go electric for the environment. I mean, Is it really, or is it these other things added to it?
Right. No, it's all a big lie and a fad. We're already seeing electric cars kind of go away with this new administration in the
Yeah,
U.S. So it's good. He's like, no more mandates on electric cars. So we're like, thank God. I mean,
yeah,
it's a fad. It's not gonna it's not healthy for our environment. The whole supply chain is owned by China. They use coal, cadmium, precious minerals to mine it. It's not a net zero on the environment at all in any way, shape, or form. They're using more electricity to use the vehicle. I mean, the whole thing's a big fraud. It's a fraud industry. So, but the worst thing is it really is the one of the worst for sterility. It affects us and makes everyone sterile. And I think between that, the infrared or the self-driving, they also have the lasers and the facial recognition to make sure you're the right driver in the car. So they're using that same technology, but they're using radar pointed at you because it goes a little further than normal what people will
yeah.
hold a cell phone at. So you're actually having one directional weaponry at you. So the same thing that cues you in, if you look down for a second,
Yeah.
uh, they say, hey, wake up, keep your eyes on the road if you're doing self-driving. That's radar they're using, and lasers and infrared and all the three. So it just this whole thing. We just got to get that technology out of our space and know how to use this technology, not rely on it for all this stuff. I'm way better of a driver than a computer will ever be, and 99% of us are,
Yeah.
except for maybe newer drivers, just because we can feel and
Yeah.
know. So we just got to get that mentality out of our world.
Yes, 100%. So we've been talking about some awesome stuff. I've been asking this question to everybody because I always like to learn new things or get some new recommendations. Uh, are you are you a pretty avid reader? You like to read a
Yeah,
lot? Any
definitely.
books that you would recommend or something you're reading now that you'd be like, hey, you got to check this stuff out?
Yeah, subtle energy. Uh, Check out subtle energy. It's I think I'll send you a link so you can post it. But it talks about the subtle energies of the subtle body, and it's probably one of the coolest books I've read as far as understanding all the invisible fields that we're one with nature on,
Yeah.
and how many different levels there are to it. And when we can start to understand them, we'll understand how different all the tech stuff is, and then how that then affects the chemistry of our body. So that's one of my favorite books. It's probably one of the most well-written books on the subtle energies out there in the universe.
And I mean, I have a hard time recommending music to people because I've become very sensitive to frequencies in music.
Yeah,
And so I find myself consistently listening to frequency music or classical music or maybe at least like 60s and 70s rock because it seems to have a higher tonality to it. But is there any kind of cool music that you like to play as you're getting ready to do volleyball or anything like that? Anything that you're into?
no, I don't go more into that on that. I mean, I grew up in the hip hop era in LA, so
Yeah,
I rev with that, type of a beat. That gets me amped. I don't worry about that taking me out of a brainwave state
yeah,
as much as I do millimeter waves. I think it gets me more in a
yeah.
rhythm for performance. So I would just say whatever feed your soul with
Yeah.
that, but just avoid feeding it with a AirPod.
With Bluetooth AirPods or earpods and whatever else. Yeah,
That's what takes you out of your brainwave state, not as much the
yeah.
music.
I actually found I mean, I found a company that makes you can get batteries for it because the battery fried. But I found my old. Do you remember the freaking the original MP3 player from Apple, like the
Yeah,
iPod? and I got a pair of old wired headphones because there's at least, hey, this is at least a step backwards. I can still have a good amount of music, but not be
Yeah.
radiating the heck out of myself when I want to listen to something.
Yeah, and definitely you can always download stuff too on your phone. You can have it on airplane mode and use a corded,
Yeah.
headset, and that's always recommended. So anything you're going to look at, just download it and put it on. Take all the wireless off. So you still have the light, you still have the battery, but you've minimized the amount of stressors on you.
Yeah. And so do you, by the way, do you still do like some of the routines from your book, like on a daily basis, or just like when you get ready to do volleyball?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll do the speed drills, coordination drills. I juggle, I balance, I do kettlebells. I've even added more. I do stick training, which I didn't teach in there.
Oh, cool.
I do stick training, which doubles as knife training, so martial arts stuff. So I'm always doing sequences of movements that develop that rhythm and that coordination and the fast twitch. And you can get it through the coordination stuff, but you can also do it through eye hand exercises as well. So I constantly am doing that. So depending on the day and how much time and energy I have, I'll do a run jump workout, barefoot on the sand on an incline going up a bank. Or if we have athletes and we're at a park like this, so I can do them there with them as well. So, but I'm always doing stretching and fascia, and this is a lifestyle, everyone.
Yeah.
This isn't just you just
Yeah.
learn one thing
Yeah.
and then you're over
Yeah.
it. It's a constant,
It's a
it's a
constant. Yeah.
constant feed yourself. So you got to keep doing all this stuff, and then sometimes, like remember, like we were saying, it's like sometimes you do one more of one, and then you gravitate towards doing more of the other. But I found that that you kind of ebb and flow into certain things with it. So I'll do more juggling one time, and then I'll stack cups more, or I'll do stick training more. Or, it just depends on the energy that I have as far as what I'll do. But it's definitely part of my routine. And the on that note, when I don't do our workouts and I don't connect to the rhythms of the universe before I play, I absolutely play awful. Like I just don't. I'm not in
Yeah.
the flow state.
Yeah.
And then the days that I do, and I show up prepared and warmed up and ready to go and in a rhythm, I play out of my head. And at my age, and I never played volleyball when I was younger, but when I show up and play beach volleyball, it's like I go from here
Wow.
all the way up to a whole nother level when I'm warmed up.
Yeah.
And I could drop way down if I'm
Wow.
not.
I mean, it makes complete sense because you're just opening up the pathways, reconnecting all your systems back into alignment and moving with it. But I love what something said a little bit earlier is, you feel sometimes drawn to do one more over the other. And I think that's a key thing is also not only having a lifestyle, but learning to pay attention what your system is actually calling for. I think people,
Right.
or at least I've observed many people getting stuck in like, this is my routine and this is what I'm gonna do. And it actually may not be what your body's asking for when you kind of quiet down for a second and listen. Of like, actually,
Right.
I don't feel like moving a weight today. I feel like just going and jumping up and down on the ground.
Right. And to that point, sometimes it's classical music,
Yeah.
and you just chill out. And then other days when the energies are flowing and you're like, okay, let's go.
A little Run DMC or
You
something like that.
just bounce it up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. So everyone can find you where?
At athleticism.com. It's spelled athleticism.com for those that can't spell.
Yep.
And then emfrocks.com. You can find me on Human Garage channel
Yep.
every Friday at noon, just talking about EMF and all the subtle energies and how we interplay with them. You'll find me at different conferences throughout the year as well. I exhibit and speak at them. I'll be speaking at Dr. Brian Artis's event in, I think it's September, October in Texas. So make sure you guys go to that, and I'll be talking on a topic we covered a little bit, but it'll be on facial recognition. So there's some really fun things or places that I encourage you guys, when you hear conferences, go to them. When you hear a Human Garage event in your area, go to it, because you're going to meet so many like-minded people. You're going to heal. It's so worth the investment. It gets you out of that mundane routine, and it will allow that performance and longevity to really solidify with you.
100%. And, healing happens with another. Healing happens in community. It doesn't happen too often off by ourselves because we've created all the stuff with others. So healing happens with others. And the cool thing is everyone who's just tuning in now, if you're just popping on, I see some new people popping on. This will be reposted so you can go back and watch from the beginning. We're talking EMF Rocks, all about EMF and the effects on the body and human performance. So you'll be able to go back and watch this. It is usually, if not posted within an hour after we end the live, it'll be up by the next morning at the latest. Sometimes it just depends on when we finish and our editors get into cutting and adding things to it. So this will be reposted with all the pertinent links. So if you didn't catch them, don't worry. They will be all reposted where to go. And we also have a Human Garage code you can use, correct?
Yeah.
Just type in Human Garage, and
go to Human Garage, and then you automatically get a discount.
To the link, yes.
Yeah, it's significant. So you can shop through there and make sure you get the grounding bags through Human Garage, because that's where you heard us from.
Guys,
and
get at least 4. And if you're not going to get 4 or 5, buy a mini bag and buy one big bag.
Yeah.
That's my.
And we have a bundle. Yeah, we have a bundle for the mini, the grounding, and the Faraday bag.
Yeah.
So you can get that too. That's a great bundle starter pack for everyone. But definitely, you're going to want a handful of them.
Yeah.
And they're significant for EMF protection. And then for the practitioners out there, we do have a wholesale, so you can resell them in your clinic as well. So you'd have to go through emfrocks.com to do that. But guys, you have to bring nature into your environment. Like, it's so important. I just can't emphasize it enough. So when you do that, you're going to be able to start to heal and sleep and get that deeper REM sleep, the deeper deep sleep, which you're looking for. That's the 60% improvement that we've seen up to, which is massive.
Huge. So guys, this is Justin's book. If you can see here, it's probably backwards on the screen, but incredible book with juggling routines and all really cool, fun jumping routines you can do to increase your performance. All the idea of that whole brain body training. And just so you guys know, this is what the bags look like. If you haven't seen them before, they're awesome. This is the little friendly one. This is a bigger guy, and they go hand in hand. So grab a hold of them, and I like to end these with some parting words from you, and then we're going to do a sync out. I think you've done this with us before we have eaten, where we sync up. I like to end these with a sync out, where we just wind things down with, we're going to breathe together. We're going to give ourselves a little hug and do a little twist, and then breathe out as we finish everything off before we say goodnight. Before we do that, Justin, if you can give some a final words to everybody, and then we'll do a sync out.
Get grounded by nature, because that is your nature. It's free. Go touch a tree, go hug a tree, go have a picnic, jump into a body of water. It's free. It's free. And then when you're not outside, bring her resonance into your home with your new EMF Rocks grounding bags.
100%. Do it, people. And if you haven't already done so, join the Human Garage app. It's a really fun place. You can go to humangarage.net and do it. And also do the 28-day reset if you haven't done it. Get into it. Start doing the maneuvers. And we have a new Instagram account. Can't talk right now. humangarage.shop. Please follow it, because we're going to start simultaneously broadcasting over there. And that's going to be a home for all of our partners to continually put up new content and reconnect and connect with you guys way more. So please go give that a follow, because our main channel, we've got so much going on here. Sometimes things can get lost. We wanted to create a dedicated space also, because we'll still post things here on our main page, but we're also going to have this beautiful place where people can come and hang out and do more of this and have these great conversations. And if you want to connect with me personally, go to pulseoflife.co or Aaron Mathias, The Purpose, and let's all hang out. Let's talk. It's fun to create new friends and have great conversations. So let's think out. If you haven't done this before, please do not do this while driving because you'll have to let go of the steering wheel, and I'm not responsible for that. So if you're standing someplace, sitting someplace, you can choose to cross your legs left over right or right over left, whichever you feel inclined to. I'll leave that up to you. Take your right hand, wrap it under your left armpit. Take your left hand over the top and grab your right shoulder. And you're going to pull your right shoulder off to the left. And then you're going to twist your head and look to the right. And we're going to take 6 breaths together. I'm going to count them off. Now, I personally prefer to breathe in through my nose and then out through my nose. That's my preference. But you're welcome to breathe in through your nose and out through the mouth. Or if your nose is all plugged up, there's a great fascial maneuver you can do to release the clogged nose. Go check it out on the website. Ha ha ha. Or you can just breathe through your mouth if it is plugged up right now. So here we go. Give yourself a twist, hug, and take a breath in through the nose, number 1. And let it go. Breath number 2. Breath number 3. Breath 4. Breath 5. Breath number 6.
Aaron, your camera flipped, buddy.
Breath number 6.
It was breathing with us in turn.
Yeah, it took a little flip. That always makes me feel so drop right back into the
Doesn't
body.
it?
It's wild how just in a few seconds. And the fun thing about those, what I love about these maneuvers is they open the idea up for experimentation.
Yeah.
And you can try grabbing yourself in slightly different places, twisting slightly different, seeing if you move a little bit more this way or that way, and just using your breath, you can have a whole fun adventure open up before your eyes.
Yeah.
So Justin,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. We've been on here almost 2 hours, which I love that you hung out with me this long. I love it. Whoa, we got fireworks going on.
You're awesome.
I love it. So thank you guys so much. And give Justin a follow. Go to emfrocks.com and grab your bags and pick up Justin's book because it's actually amazing.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you. You're the best.
See you guys later.